Welcome everyone to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading is all about what is your higher self's dearest dream for you. So if we think of our higher self as the part of ourselves that exists above our sort of conscious mind and which has maybe an aerial view of our life, a sense of how it all connects in and so forth, the higher self would know what is in your greatest good and what is most needed in your life at the moment. So your higher self's dearest dream may be a very long-term life purpose sort of issue, but right now it might also be to help you get over pain or loss and learn to be happy and joyous again, or it could be to send you a creative inspiration, or it could be for you to go and get that next promotion, or it might be for you to really understand how talented and special you are and how you can use that energy. Could be anything. So that's what we're going to try and find out today. So it may, as I say, be a very long-term aim. It may also be something that's more for the moment, but you use your discernment in how the reading goes and what it brings to you. And we're going to look at, firstly, almost a map of the sort of energies that your higher self wants to bring to your attention and have you think about or plan around or whatever to bring about their dearest dream for you. Then we're going to go into detail with tarot around that, some more detail about the specifics, maybe some of the unconscious areas, some of the opportunities that are coming up. Then we'll bring it into the 3D, looking at it across things like relationships, career, lifestyle, and your spiritual sort of growth and development. Bring it all together with some affirmations and some sort of astro chakra energy at the end as well too. So that's what the reading's going to be about. Before I go into the pole choice, I just wanted to say one thing, and I'm not going to say this in every video, but I want to say it every once in a while. I have now opened up for private readings. So if you are interested in that, and there's no pressure, nobody ever should feel I have any expectation like that. But if you are wanting one, the details for where you can get the private reading is in the description box. And there's also the link in my about page on this YouTube channel. So the only place that you can get private readings from me is via my Etsy store, which is called Serpent Eye Tarot. And so that's the only way. And one of the reasons I want to say, apart from every once in a while saying, yes, I'm open for that if people are interested, is that I understand from watching other tarot channels that it's not uncommon once you start to do private readings for there to be scam artists who pretend to be you, sort of on Instagram or Twitter or any of those sort of things. So the only place that you can get readings from me is via the Etsy link in my video descriptions and about page. You can email me at my website, but then you're emailing me. I will never, ever solicit from you. So I'm not going to turn up in comments offering readings or anything like that. I understand that's the sort of thing that happens, and it happens on Twitter and it happens on Instagram. I'm not ever going to do anything like that. So if something like that happens, just ignore it. It's a scam. If you do have time and you feel comfortable, maybe let me know, because then I can be aware to warn more people. But I think basically if people understand the Etsy store is the only way, and that will help with that if you are interested, to make sure you do get a reading from me and not get scammed by anybody, which I would hate to happen to anyone. So that's my little announcement about that. Now let's go into the pole choice. So what I've done to help with the choice is that one of the key decks that I'll be using at the beginning is a beautiful new deck by Inner Traditions Publishing called the Soul Helper Oracle. And so I've got a card from each of these with beautiful imagery. As you can see, it's a gorgeous deck, and some sort of like wording, some sort of like hints and so forth. And I feel it's a perfect sort of deck to use as part of your higher self talking to you, just because of the nature of the deck. So the imagery may call to you, the concept of what the card is about may call to you, or you may have other ways that you decide what deck you want to or what reading you want to go to. And of course you can go to more than one. So that's all completely up to you. But I intuitively just chose 4 cards from the deck to be the sort of almost gateway to the reading for those that like to choose that way. So for pile number 1, we have Release Your Inner Rebel. For pile number 2, we have Listen to the Eternal Song of Your Soul. For pile number 3, we have A Partnership for the New Age. And for pile number 4, we have a new strategy is required. These cards will be part of the reading, so there's going to be an aspect of that, but there are other cards from this deck and a number of others that are going to be there at the beginning. So it's not the singular message, but it may help some of you decide which reading is right for you if you don't automatically go to a particular number or you haven't already been drawn to one intuitively. When you know what reading you want to go to or readings, as always, I'll have the timestamps in the description box below and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So as I said, I've got 2 other cards here along with the one that brought you to the reading or possibly brought you to this reading from the Soul Helper Oracle. I've got some astrology, some archangel, some archetype, and also a card from a deck which is sort of combining crystal energy with Atlantean sort of vibrations and so forth to try and sort of get a map of what it is that your higher self's dearest dream for you is. And I think there's a couple of things that jump out with this. The first is your higher self wants you to heal from something and let something go. When we've got lost in the ruins of the past, find the way to the present moment and live. I feel as though there's something here, and it's sort of showing also with Venus and to some degree Pisces, where maybe your heart was hurt. I think your heart was hurt by finding out either relationships were not what you thought they were, or even that you weren't allowed to be truly yourself in some way. And this could have been in childhood, it could have been at school, it could have been in a workplace, it could have been in a personal relationship of one type or another. Hence why you were drawn to release your inner rebel, because part of the energy of all of this is around understanding your psychic connection, because it's very sort of profound, and there's real growth and expansion that can come with understanding that enlightenment and connecting to that energy. With Opal in this particular deck, this is talking about seeing things for what they actually are and being able to see in other souls really well. So getting past what might have been the packaging that people gave to things so that you can navigate your life with greater clarity and understanding that you do have a psychic connection. The Opal energy is very much about opening up psychic and spiritual abilities and understanding the world through that kind of light. It's connected to, amongst other things, the goddess Isis and also the goddess Nuit, N-U-I-T. I may not be pronouncing that correctly, but the interesting thing about that goddess is she's about expansion, and so is Jupiter, which is the planetary energy that Zadkiel, Archangel Zadkiel, rules over in the Kabbalah. So there's definitely a sense here of understanding your psychic ability. And the reason, and here with Raphael, healing, but reason for doing it is because there's something about your life path, what you've learned, what was difficult that's important to take forward, and the Pisces energy of merging and connecting with others through your heart, but having, in a sense, the clarity to see where that's healthy for you and where it may not be, and for you to know that you can be true to yourself, not follow these patterns where maybe you fitted in with others. Now, the reason I think it's connected to your life path and why Opal is important here, I might jump to that first, is with Aquarius, this is saying that when you get this connection, you understand what's going on in the world, you understand what might have happened in relationships in the past, in a way to protect your heart and have that clarity. It's like you start with the Piscean and the Venusian energy of the sort of open heart and the open sort of spiritual channel and a high degree of telepathy, I think, with other people. But Aquarius allows you to step back from it to some degree so that it doesn't hurt you. It's hurt you in the past. I suspect you've been an empath, you've picked up energies around people, you've tried to support them and help them. You have a very unique way of looking at things, but sometimes that has meant you haven't fitted in or haven't been understood, and so you have got hurt from this. And as I say, it could be in any number of relationships or just one in particular. But either way, your higher self wants you to have learnt from that a certain degree of detachment and a certain degree of analysis of others. And the reason, I think, linking back to Raphael and the sun here around the life path, is you are meant, with a difficult path being revealed and asking for help, the spiritual help, and famous, to do something with your career, with your life, where you become very well known. Now, well-known depends upon what you want and your ambition. So it could be anything from well-known within a workplace or within a community group through to being on centre stage somewhere. There's certainly a sense of glamour around you. If you wanted to do something creative or performative, you certainly could do that, and this may be part of your higher self's dream for you. But there is a complication that's associated with doing that. The more that you become famous or known for something, two things can occur, and I think this is what your higher self wants you to think about. The first is that you are often pushed into conforming a bit, and maybe there's even been an experience of that before. So to give you an example, say you wrote a book and it became published and it was very popular. You would be pushed, subtly or not so subtly, within that industry to produce more of the same. And that may not be what you want to do, because you may be much more a polymath, much more somebody who wants to do a range of different things, because there's a lot of energy coming through to you. So understanding with a kind of almost detached way, when do you need to conform because it's going to help you move towards what you want, and when is it actually just doing what somebody else tells you to do, is a really, really important thing. The other thing is that when you become very well known, people want a lot more from you. People start to project on you. People start to think they're like you and that kind of thing. You need some detachment and understanding of when that happens, because I think that you may have attracted people to you who have been drawn to this sort of glamorous sort of sense that you give off in whatever form it is, and they have wanted certain things from you. They may have competed with you. They may have tried to own you or possess you. This can happen when you have famous as an archetype. People can get very obsessed. So I think there's a sense of use your psychic ability, your attunement to people, not just to be a loving support to them and to be sort of a glamorous and sort of very sort of open and caring person, but also to be someone who can be detached when you need to be and who can be yourself. One of the things with this sort of energy that I think comes across, and your higher self might want you to know, is that sometimes when you are very clear on who you are, and I suspect if you chose this card, if this is the reason you came to the reading, you kind of do know who you are, and you know you're different, and you know you probably have had some challenges because of it, but equally you're proud of it, and your higher self is proud of it, and you have good reason. Is that sometimes when you draw to you people who are not so sure of themselves, what will happen is they will start to think what you do in your life is what is being self-actualized is. So say, for argument's sake, you were a writer and a corporate business person, like some combination of those two things. And you may find that people who see you as confident enough to be an inner rebel, to be true to who you are, may start to think, okay, then what I have to do is be a writer and be a corporate business person. And in actual fact, they need to be whoever they are. You've worked that out for yourself. So your higher self's very happy about that. But your higher self is saying that you have sometimes got caught and need to heal from scenarios where people have not understood you or wanted too much from you or wanted to control you or who were envious of you. All of those sort of energies, very, very likely with Venus and famous. You're very likely to be very physically attractive, beautiful, or very charismatic, drawing people in and so forth, and a little bit of an ideal. In fact, the energy I get off this is sort of a bit like a Princess Diana sort of energy. You don't have to be a woman. It's not about gender. But it's somebody who people project things on because of the sort of glamour or the energy. And your higher self wants you to do that and wants you to become, at whatever level you want to be known, recognized, and to be truly yourself and to be truly original. But your higher self is saying that it is a difficult path because it draws a lot of energy and attention to itself. That's why there's sort of use your psychic ability at a more detached level and heal from whatever this is, because sometimes the people you come across are not going to want anything from you other than to admire what you do and to share and collaborate. So you don't want to project either what has happened always. So to be really able to move into the big leagues, and that's what I feel this is about in whatever this is, creatively, performatively, career, whatever it might be, even to find the next love who can be kind of on the same level as you in terms of sort of glamour and attractiveness. You do have to have some understanding of what is genuine and what isn't, and that there is something about what you're going to do that is going to bring that difficulty. And if this isn't playing out in sort of performance and career, and it's playing out spiritually, then I think you will have a very different way of doing spiritual approaches and so forth, and you're very enlightened, kind of a little bit ahead of the pack here. but you're going to have similar things where there may be competition and so forth. So your higher self wants you to take that next step to the next level. That's your higher self's dearest dream for you. Wants you to be more and more true to yourself. Wants your heart to be open, your psychic ability to be open, but to be channeled through some degree of distance and detachment and discernment, and to heal from the past, because you're just about to embark on the next step in some way. So it'll be interesting to see with tarot and so forth what your higher self wants to talk about that. So let's just pause the video so that I can actually now lay out the tarot cards for you. Actually, no, I'll put the tarot cards on top. That way we won't need to pause and we can actually sort of see it in the context and remember the cards. So let's start with tarot. So what we're asking the tarot here firstly is a little bit more actual detail about what does this look like in your life now. And then we're going to have a look at anything unconscious and also any sort of opportunities that are about to come up. So this is on a very broad level. We're then going to move into the 3D side of things. Okay, so firstly, there's something very swords oriented about this. There's something very sort of intellectual, philosophical, sort of an approach. If it is something where it's creative, it feels like writing, speech, that kind of thing. Or if it is art in some way, it's very intricate, very well thought out, very well constructed, and it has a theme to it. So there's something in that space if this is about creativity. There is definitely something about making money, going to the next step, building on the investment of what you've done with the Seven of Pentacles there. But it does look as though there's been something dramatic you're still getting over. With the Ten of Swords reversed, that is saying that you're moving out of an energy where you literally could have been backstabbed in some way, or people could have betrayed you, people could have emotionally and intellectually exhausted you as well too. It could be any of those things. But I think this is whatever this energy is, which is around making sure that you don't live just in the past, that you understand it, you heal from it, and it gives you that sense of stepping back a bit, which I think is what's happening here with the Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Swords, when it's the right way up, is sort of like often acts before they think, really fast, ahead of their time. I suspect you are with some of this. As I said, I think particularly spiritually, you're a little bit ahead of your time. But with it reversed, I think it's sort of saying taking a step back from that, putting something into a structure, being a little bit more conservative. And this isn't like around politics or anything like that. It's more how you conserve your energy and how you choose to put your energy, what that does for you. So it's I think maybe what has happened before is that you've connected into something with your heart, your soul, and with your mind. Those three things work very strongly together for you. You don't step away from your mind at any point. But it was almost like it wasn't ready yet, or it wasn't with the right people because you hadn't exercised this discernment. You'd sort of thought people who were, interested in you, came to work with you, whatever, were like you, but there was other dynamics going on. So you jumped into that, and now you've learnt, which is the good thing. Your higher self's really happy. You've learned to take things a little bit more carefully, really think through the structure of what's going on and how to move forward with something, because you have an idea about, it could be something creative, it could be ambition, career ambition, it could be even how you want to express yourself in the world. And you're at the stage now where you're working out, what does this really look like? When you get a page, it tends to be, you've gone from the ace to the 10, and it tends to be about what is it you really want now. It's distilling what you really want. And I feel like this is what you really want creatively, or in terms of your self-expression. Hence again, why you were drawn to let the inner rebel out. You're ready to do that. You're sorting out what that means, but you have to have a structure around it. It may even be a legal structure around it. It may be very much that you didn't have the legal things in place before and somebody's taken an idea or something like that. You really need to have that. You need to slow down just a little bit so that you can work out the material side of this, and so that then what you want to express has the sort of legal support. I'm also getting that there's someone who could be coming in that will help you with that as well too, with the King of Swords. So it doesn't have to be a male. It's not about gender, but it's someone who's very fair. It could in fact just even be a legal advisor or a manager or something like that. But I feel like connecting with that person will be helpful. Your higher self wants you to find the person who can help you with that side of things so you can concentrate on the creative side, because there's a very, very strong creative energy for you. Okay, so let's pull a few cards for what might be unconscious, what you might not be seeing at the moment around what your higher self's dearest dream for you is. Okay, so I think this is picking up if there was heartbreak. I mean, and heartbreak can come in a number of levels. It can be literally in a relationship, and all of this might relate to a personal relationship, or it could be around friends and colleagues and so forth. I think this, though, is definitely suggesting like either a new relationship coming in that has a lot of promise, or a rekindling and a fixing up of one. Though I definitely think if there is a relationship that's connected to past hurts that need to be healed from, it's probably not that one. So I think, because I think part of this understanding was understanding when people are right and not right for you. There is a little bit of shyness in you about coming out with what you really believe. So I think this is you probably dealing with the healing and you know, what does this mean for your life path? This definitely has a feeling as though you were well advanced in doing something, or well advanced in a relationship, whatever it was. And you really do have what it takes. There's no doubt about that. But something happened. There was a reversal, and I think it was just being around the wrong people or the wrong person, something like that. So you are still a little bit gun shy about how you can take this thing forward and make it work in the material world. But your higher self is saying here, and spirit is saying here, that there will be the time when you need to come out. This is why you came to this let the inner rebel out card. There is a time when you will need to start to show your hand again, and not to be frightened of what will happen with it. One of the things you need to understand, Pile 1, is because of this charisma, because of this energy, you will have complicated relationships. But you just need to understand it. It's fine. That's not a reason to stay hidden away. What is special and unique about you is exactly what your higher self wants you to sort of leverage and use. That seems to be bringing a new direction, a new sort of idea, a new pathway, and new love or new passion for what you do into your life. It's like when you are prepared to come out from behind the scenes and be prepared for the fact that you know what you've learnt. You know that this isn't going to be easy, that there's going to be complicated relationships at the very least around you about it, but you know you've kind of worked out how to handle it. You can go out with the confidence of the fool again. You can go out with that sense of, yes, I can step into this, even if it's unknown. I've kind of gone through this once before. I've learnt from it. I know what I need to do to structure things better going forward, so I can be more open to that. So it's bringing that to your conscious mind. It's like, instead of looking at it like, oh, this didn't work out, maybe I'm not meant to do this, or maybe I'm not up to it or whatever, but realizing that no, the reason it didn't work out was because of some other people around it, but the core thing is still there. It's just you need to work out the boundaries and so forth. And as I say, that almost sense of detachment to move forward. Then you can take the next step into what will be difficult, but certainly something you can do. So let's ask specifically what kind of key opportunities might be coming up soon around this dream. Okay, there's something in what you can do that will, there's two levels to this, that will educate or help others. There's something around what you're doing, and it doesn't really matter whether it's, you're doing something creative and there's an idea or theme in it that will help others, or whether you do something that's in terms of motivation and so forth with that kind of energy you have around, where you could get up and talk in front of people if you needed to. You've got that kind of charisma, as I say. There's something around education. There's also the possibility that there's something that's coming up that you could learn. And this could be anything from some form of tertiary qualification through to a particular artistic skill, or an opportunity to, if you're a creator, you might actually have opportunity to work with a master in the craft and, master classes, that kind of thing. Or it could be, a spiritual practice that you're going to learn. But there's something that will help you do that. And it will help you realize that you are a bit unique, because it's interesting with the Four of Wands reversed here and then Strength reversed. This skill is meant to make you feel stronger in who you are, the inner rebel. Because Four of Wands reverse says to me that you're not meant to be with the pack. And it's more like you're meant to be followed. But it's almost as though if you are starting to doubt yourself, there's something that you could learn about how to do it. So, for instance, if you did want to do sort of something in terms of the motivational speaking, for instance, you could potentially go and do a course around presentation skills, for instance. There's something like that where you can stand in the spotlight. This is why we had the famous card. People who are famous are unique. They're individual. They may collaborate and work with others, but ultimately they are their own person. And there's something that you can learn. There's an opportunity to learn, and also then potentially to then pass that forward and teach others. Okay, so that's pretty exciting. So what we want to do now is have a look at some of this in the 3D. So I'm going to start around the heart code oracles around relationship, lifestyle, career, and well-being. Then I'm also going to pull a couple of cards from a spiritual deck for some spiritual energy, because it's certainly possible this could be in the spiritual realm that you potentially have an idea or a concept that you could take forward. Then we're going to have a look at some blocks that were also part of what was intuitively chosen before we sort of bring it all together at the end. So firstly, pull just a couple of cards around relationships and how relationship energy may impact your higher self's dearest dream for you. Listen. Decision. Yeah, I think this is picking up this swords energy. I think something's coming up, and where that relationships can be anything. It can be love, but it can also be broader relationships, sort of relationships for career and collaboration or whatever. But this is saying listen before you make a decision, and that goes right back to the core thing of that using the opal and Aquarius, like getting that sort of sense of distance. There is something about you, and this is why it's good, that Knight of Swords is reversed, that, as I say, it's very, very fast, very, very unique, very, very individual, which is lovely, but it can make you, and I think this is what happened before, make a decision too quickly without listening and hearing what's really going on. So this is across all things, but certainly around relationships, any relationships that you have in relation to this, listen, hear the structure of what's going on before, process it through your mind, understand that, then make the decision. Spirit, your higher self, knows you get excited because you're very, there's just so much energy with you. They just want you to make sure that you use that energy in your highest good. So let's see how it plays out around career. Authentic. Compromise. Okay, so there's a double message to this, and this goes back to the inner rebel, and this goes back to fame and the uniqueness. You are very unique. This is what your higher self wants to say. You're not imagining that if you think that. Your ideas, whatever it is that you want to do and express, and in whatever field this is, you're very authentic, and that's part of your great strength, and it's why you're going to get known. But you may sometimes need to compromise with others around, and that's what I was picking up right at the beginning. Like, it may be that, once you're successful at one thing, you may find that there are industry things, and it's like working out like what is worth compromising for the industry and what do you need to not do that. So I think it's a double message. It's partly where you can compromise and remain authentic, that's fine. Where being authentic would be compromised too much, that's your sign that you need to step back and renegotiate or look at a different path. Okay, let's have a look at you are definitely leveling up, and you're definitely going into a more competitive environment, I think. And you're very well placed to do it, but these cards would not come up if this wasn't the case. Okay, let's see around lifestyle. Perspective. Argument. Okay. So this goes back to the listen, making decisions. I do think you're the sort of person who has complex relationships. And I think they're all types of relationships. And it is because you are so much an individual. So again, it's sort of like a double message here. It may be sometimes that you need to think about your perspective because you are so strong in who you are, because otherwise you could end up in arguments where compromise was possible. But equally, it's sort of like, don't waste your time, I think. If you can get to a perspective where you can share difference, that's wonderful. But if all the difference ever brings is argument, just let it go, because there are going to be people who are drawn to you just to compete with you. And really, it's silly because you are you and they can't be that. but there's no point in getting involved in the argument. But if you can see it from their perspective and there's a way to bring it together, then you can make a different decision about that. So, okay, let's have a look at wellness as well, just general well-being. Overwhelmed, well-being. Okay, so whether it's right now, I mean, your higher self might be saying you are still healing from some of this. Call on Michael, I think this was, from memory. Yes. Oh, no, Raphael. Call on Raphael for some energy. Maybe Michael as well. And there might be a reason I felt Michael. Maybe Michael is strength. And when you are in arguments or compromise, maybe call on Michael as well. Since I misremembered, that might have been your higher self adding that into the mix. But certainly sometimes you do feel a bit overwhelmed, and don't let that cloud your perspective or make you feel you just give up. It's sort of, your well-being is important. So there's something about sort of just protecting your energy. And this is, again, this sort of sense of the Aquarius. It's like, don't get involved in petty arguments or egoistic arguments. You are who you are, and people are either going to be able to accept that or not. And if not, it's probably because they don't know who they are. So don't get overwhelmed. Look after your own well-being. Think about getting plenty of rest. Think about what you eat, all of those sorts of things. Like none of this sort of argument stuff is worth your well-being. So take the time out when you need to take the time out. Okay, so there are some complications around this for you, as I say, but it's more about how people respond to you. Let's have a look on a spiritual level, what the energy is as well too, before we look at the blocks. So just calling here on your higher self to give us some information about some spiritual practices or abilities that are worth considering to progress their dearest dream for you. Mysticism. Oh, listen again. Okay. What I'm getting about that, lesson's coming up twice. I think you're clairaudient. Like whether you're aware of it or not, you don't literally have to hear a voice, like in the sense of as though it's sort of like a disembodied voice just next to you, though some people do have clairaudience like that. But there is things sometimes that come to you that seem a little bit out of left field. It's probably spiritual connections that are giving you messages in a clairaudient way. And so there's something around that. And in fact, your listening skills, once you really detach enough that gives you clarity, are one of your strengths. Mysticism is also something, and this may be to help with your well-being, because mysticism, like here we see the Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah is about balance as much as anything else. And so there are different energies coming from Keter down into the world, all the different sort of energies and so forth that are part of the human psychology, I guess. And it's about balance, and it's about getting these things right. So I think that this is probably saying that, meditation, mystical pathways, maybe even learning about mysticism, learning about the Kabbalah might in fact be quite enlightening to you and heighten your spiritual ability and your spiritual detachment. Because I do think in a way mystics are a bit detached. Mystics, they love the divine more than anything in the earth, basically, though it doesn't mean they can't have relationships, but it's very much that kind of connection. And so I think that this might be how you can get that detachment and understand the bigger picture. Okay, so let's have a look at what the blocks were. So what I'm using here, I'm using the Oracle of Shadows and Light for a kind of overarching block energy. And then I'm also using the Decoding Your Self-Esteem cards, which are a new deck that have come from Danielle Malin, who's done the Heart Code Oracle. So these are kind of advice messages about self-esteem, because I thought I'd use them for this reading, because I think everybody needs advice around any blocks or issues around self-esteem when they're trying to understand their highest self's dearest dream for them. But firstly, let's have a look at what the energy is around any blocks, conscious or unconscious. So we've got strangely lonely, holding on way too tight. Okay, this card comes up when you do need to sort of be able to stand in your own power, and this is part of it, because there is something about you that's going to elevate you, going to take you a little bit separate to the pack. But it's sometimes where you hold on too tight to things in the past, try to rework them and so forth, because there's a sort of sense of, can I do this? Can I be, in my own self and good enough in my own self and strong enough in my own self? So I do think it is a thing that your higher self wants you to know, that you aren't precluded from relationships. In fact, as we saw earlier, there's a new relationship potentially coming in. And whether it's a love relationship, friendship, or whatever, depends upon where you are in your life, I would say. But there definitely is that coming in, but it needs to be one more of equals. Equals, but different, because you're different and the other person will be different too. And being happy enough to do that, not holding on too much to what felt like security, but being willing to go into healing the past, letting it go, and going into the new road, even though it has challenges, that will help you. Okay, let's see what the two self-esteem messages are. Okay, so emotional exposure makes you susceptible to judgment, loss, and rejection. Conversely, it opens the door to positive change, a risk worth taking. So this is the coming out from behind the scenes, having gone through the healing, the Four of Swords reversed. There is a point at which you showing who you really are will be helpful. And your heart, but as I say, a little bit detached. Now, this is interesting. Your egocentric tendencies are pushing people away. I don't know that you really are egocentric. I think the issue for you is that it may come across that way because you're so different. And if you were drawn to let your inner rebel out, I think it's just a warning that if you are trying to sort of stand so much in your difference and go, okay, that's fine, you may push away the kind of personal energies that could come towards you that are right for you. So it's a really careful balance, because I think that you are going to be really well known in some way, and people will see that as, egocentric, and particularly if they're feeling insecure around you. And if you feel that you're in an environment where you really have to stand up for what's different about you all the time, it could come across this way. So it's about balance. I think that's why the mysticism card came up. So just be aware that because you are stronger than a lot of other people, particularly in who you are, that you don't come across as just egocentric. And part of that is about knowing when to be emotionally open and vulnerable and so forth, when to get that balance right. And that's why the healing energy is around you. Because it is a really tricky energy, I have to say, because it's very easy for someone like you to be seen as egocentric and so forth. And sometimes if you feel really misunderstood, you may move into that energy because it's a protection for yourself. But I think this is just saying your self-esteem is actually above that. You don't need to do that. You need to work out who and where you can be more emotionally open and where you need to be more emotionally detached. Okay, so let's bring it all together. I want to use the crystal chakra cards for some affirmations. I want to do some angel numbers, and then we're going to use the astro chakra to finish off the reading. So, a couple of crystal chakra. Solar plexus chakra, so yes, that's all about your self-esteem. Solar plexus chakra, yeah, this is all about who you are in the world. Your higher self's dearest dream for you is for you to truly manifest who you are in the world and your uniqueness. So, with the solar plexus chakra, we have Moikeha Jasper, which is about peace and security. The affirmations are, I feel secure at all times, and I am at peace with myself, which is good. That's where you need to get to. And then here with Septarian, correction and regulation. I control my emotions and I correct my faults and move on. So if some of this friction was you sort of coming across as being egocentric when that wasn't when you were meaning to, or anything like that, or if that happens as you go through this, because you are going to be in an environment where there's some challenges, then just know that's okay. You learn, you move on. That does not define you. What defines you is the next thing you do and the next thing you do, in the sense that we are all works in progress. Okay, let's get you a couple of angel numbers. Symbiosis and mindset. Okay, so angel number 1010. Your angels are helping you improve your close relationships with trust, communication, honesty, and healthy boundaries. So you've been doing the work and your angels are with you, so that's great. Mindset, angel 111. Your thoughts need refocusing. This is a reminder that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. So that, I think, it's just your angels knocking on the door of your spiritual side saying, don't forget that in the midst of all of this, because there's a very strong feeling of almost being sort of swept up in I say fame, being well known, people responding to you and so forth. Okay, so we're going to finish off with Astro Chakra cards just to bring the energy together for you, pile one. love, fourth chakra, heart chakra, intuition, the third eye, yes, using your psychic ability, and then the root chakra, who you are at a base and how you feel safe. And in fact, it's talking about feeling safe. And love, it's feeling safe in love. So this goes back to Venus Pisces. It's like who will love you and how for that to be authentic. There's something around that needs to be healed, but also you own what is beautiful and unique in you, and that helps bring that in. It helps make you feel secure in yourself, and it helps open your heart chakra again. And then using, this is interesting, the sixth chakra, which is the third eye, the intuition, the connection telepathically to others, to bring in Saturn's discipline, definition. This is why we had the strong swords energy. This is why you use your mind and you use that kind of Aquarian detachment to truly work out when it is safe and harmonious to open up your Venus energy, both in your heart and also at the base. So you're just a really interesting, very unique, very probably charismatic, very, very sort of like huge potential for success, all of those sort of things, with a very big open heart and great caring for others. But there's something about your impact that triggers people to want to follow you, to get obsessed with you, to compete with you. So this is all about your higher self wanting you to be the person you want to be in the world and to succeed on your terms, but to understand how to navigate the difficult sort of energies that come with that. So I hope that that resonates for you, Pile 1, and I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd be fascinated to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So here we have the card that may have been the reason that you came to this reading, depending upon your reason to come to Pile 2, which is listen to the internal song of your soul. Certainly, I think many of you, that energy or message is very key, because this is a highly spiritual group. This is a highly spiritual energy. Your higher self dearly dreams for you to really build and expand your spiritual understanding, your spiritual abilities, and to ground them into this world, and probably express them creatively in some way. So the reason that I say this is, firstly, the first two of the Soul Helper Oracle are all about this. So it says, listen to the eternal song of your soul, tune into it and learn to trust it. It may in fact suggest that music is an important thing. Music and colour, and I'll get to this for you, may be two ways that spiritual energy and your higher self communicates with you. So pay attention to that. But certainly listening to the eternal song of your soul, and you are experiencing a spiritual blossoming, take a new direction and be open to new experiences, suggests a very strong spiritual side of this. But then we also have release your creative energies, make use of them in your life. And the two astrological cards we have, the 12th house is all about the spirit. It's all about depth psychology. It's all about the really connectedness and so forth. This card talks about an area of a life that's overwhelming. You yield to a greater causal power. But I think that in this case, that is just you yielding to your inner knowing, your higher self and so forth. But I do think it may be a little bit overwhelming, because this card here, which I'll get to in more detail, is about grounding. So it's about letting the spiritual energy in, but grounding. And I do think you probably got multiple sort of spiritual abilities, and it may be about sorting out the key ones. And I think there's something about music, and I think there's something about colour, but there's also something about creativity, because Leo is the sign that's, creative, dramatic and so forth. The energy is flamboyant, as this says here, dramatic, proud, passionate. So, and it is very focused on self-belief. So part of the thing that your higher self dearly dreams that you have is a sense, a real understanding of the ability that you have in this space, and that you will use a connection here with Michael to universal truths and communicate them, because Michael looks over Mercury, which is about communication. I think that's got to do with the creativity, but you'll do it with benevolence. And with Zadkiel, with benevolence here, because he rules over Jupiter, there is a real chance of sort of material expansion and so forth for you. Then the archetypes of goddess and wizard. I mean, how clearer can it get? Like, there's something, you've brought in a lot of spiritual ability already, or this is a lifetime where you are meant to rapidly accelerate your understanding of that. Some people come into the world and it's very 3D oriented, and we will look at the 3D for you. But I think for you, the 3D operates as a canvas in a way for the art of you creating your spiritual understanding, beliefs, abilities, and so forth. This card here comes from a deck that connects crystal energy to Atlantean sort of knowledge and so forth. And so it's talking about here the crystal hematite, which is a grounding stone in crystals. It's a spiritual grounding stone. So this is about you taking all of this amazing spiritual energy and grounding it. It does say that sometimes really highly spiritual people and really highly creative people might find the 3D a little bit boring sometimes, but there is a kind of a balance here, and knowing that a lot is coming in, and there's definitely things about color energy here. I just feel that, as I say, that you probably get sort of channeling from all kinds of different sources and so forth, but I think something about music, color, creativity, maybe the spoken word with Mercury, there's something in those spaces, because this is meant to be seen in some way, and that depends on you how widely you want it to be seen. But you're certainly bringing in your higher self wants you to recognize you're not operating on a low level when it comes to spiritual ability. But whether or not it's you've dabbled in quite a few things, because there's something that feels a bit eclectic about this energy. And in this life, your higher self maybe wants you to really focus in on really strong points and accelerate your development so that you get to the level kind of goddess wizard level in something. That may be the energy that's coming here. But let's see what the tarot tells us. So I'm going to start firstly with just what are some of the key energies around this on a more practical level. Then we're going to look at unconscious areas for you and also what opportunities are coming straight up. So firstly, just a little bit more details from your higher self about what this dream is they have for you. Okay, so the first thing that jumps out at me around this is that there's something about transmuting emotional pain. It's sort of interesting because the energies overall feel very spiritual, but I feel like there's something about you connecting to your spiritual side more helps you sort of transmute where possibly there was emotional disappointment. And this could be anything. I mean, it could be a personal relationship, like a love relationship. It could be friendships, stuff from your family. There's something like that. There's something about closing the loop on emotional pain that comes from understanding the cycles of life in a way with the Wheel of Fortune, and being able to judge when something is right for you with the Queen of Swords. I feel like it's a really positive Queen of Swords energy here. I don't feel like it's being a self-critic or someone being critical of you. I feel as though this is your mind understanding and processing. It's picking up almost the mercurial energy, because Queen of Swords is a Gemini card, so that sort of sense of the great communicator and so forth. There's something about your mind understanding this, but I feel like it comes to you through music and colour and sensate sort of things, very kinesthetic, but your mind, your higher self is saying your mind will put this into some sort of a structure for you to understand it and to understand when you're free to move and when you aren't. So there's something very interesting in this pot too. It's almost as though your higher self is saying, you have these gifts and you are meant to accelerate the development, but you will sometimes be able to do what you want with them, and sometimes you will actually have to do what is required of you. It's almost as though you have a mission, and whether you signed up to it knowingly or not, you have a mission. So sometimes when you just want to maybe sort of fly and move and use it, there'll actually be a kind of a balancing force of fate that channels where this needs to go. But that's okay. That's okay. It's just sometimes maybe that will cause some sort of issues around relationships. So you just need to be aware of it so you can balance it and so forth. It's like the sort of psychic who's constantly called on by everybody, and in your personal relationships, people might feel like, well, where are you? You're always helping someone else. But there's sort of like, there's almost a bargain with the universe that your higher self is saying there's a reason, the reason you're getting to this level and so forth, or you're at this level and you're re-emerging is that there's something you're meant to do. So, okay, so let's ask what might be unconscious around it. Okay, so this looks to me like what's unconscious is your creativity. It's like, I wouldn't be at all surprised if some of you thought, oh, I don't know that I'm creative. Yeah, I'm spiritual, but I don't know about creative. It does look to me like unconsciously you have suppressed some of that. Maybe because you think that, you could end up in sort of like conflict with either what you're doing with your career or with other people around you. But you actually wouldn't. Like Five of Wands is never that major anyway, and it's reversed here. Ace of Wands suggests there's a creative idea or something that you've put on the back burner or you haven't really backed yourself on. This is saying that it's because, actually this is interesting, it's saying that because I think things that come to you, colour, music, all that kind of thing, comes fully formed, you feel like if something isn't fully formed, then it's not going to work. This feels like it's a creative thing that you do incrementally. So, and it could be writing a book and you do it, you work it all out, the structure of it, using the Queen of Swords, and you structure it out and you write chapter by chapter, or, it's a painting and you do various layers on it, or it's a song and you sort of start with the lyrics and then you move to the music, or whatever it might be. And it doesn't have to be as typically creative as that. It could be creative in career or whatever. But this is saying that you can actually take things step by step more than you think, and that you don't have to. And the same thing actually with your spirituality, I'm getting. Because you're a natural, you can let it develop piece by piece. It doesn't have to come fully formed. Maybe you've had people around you who you thought, just came fully formed and you think, oh, I can't do that. But what you'd probably realise if you knew more about their process is that they have a process as well. So I think what's unconscious here is finding the process for yourself, whether it's spiritual development or creative. But I think it's a lot about creativity and you backing yourself that you can take it step by step. Because the Tower reverse is just the change and the revolution, but it's done step by step. And this is freeing up the creative energy. Okay, so let's ask what opportunities are maybe just before you that your higher self would like you to know about. Okay. So I think that your higher self is saying there's a bit of time before you need to sort of do anything specific. This is more a time of developing and understanding what your skills are and so forth. When the opportunity comes, you will know, because judgment is there. You will get the sense using your own psychic ability that here's an opportunity, here's the time to act. Until then, it looks as though you can take your time, because the Knight of Swords reversed is kind of taking your time. So allow yourself to develop. Your higher self doesn't want you to think tomorrow you have to, and it's like the energy of incrementally building the creative thing, that tomorrow you have to be the goddess and the wizard, so to speak. It's just building these things step by step. But you kind of need to do it on your own to some degree. This is not a kind of a learning that you can crowdsource. It's coming direct to you, because Three of Wands reverse is saying that at the moment the sort of concept of looking for a soul tribe is not necessarily as helpful. It could be helpful later, you'll know when. But at the moment it's getting in tune with yourself, with your own depth psychology and psychic ability, with your own sense of self, and with the sort of song of your own heart. That it's a very internal process, feels very much like meditation, that kind of thing, to allow those energies in. You will know, your higher self is saying, when the time comes for reaching out more, but at the moment it's a time for going within. Okay, so we're going to have a look at some 3D elements of this. So we're looking at relationships, lifestyle, career and well-being with the Heart Code Oracles. Then we're going to look at some spiritual gifts, and then we'll sort of move on to these cards here, which were some potential blockages to be aware of before we finish off with some affirmations and drawing the energy together. So firstly, the relationship energy around your higher self's dearest dream for you. Time apart, searching. Okay, so this may be picking up for some of you that there was a relationship that has gone through some difficulty, and maybe that's still there. And so this could be saying take some time apart, and then either you will search and find your way back to the person, or you will find more what you want. It could also say that relationship, a bit like this, is not what it's about right now for you. That doesn't mean you won't have a loving relationship in the future or anything like that, or that you won't connect with others, but at the moment it's a very profound, it's relationship with yourself, and I think it's an inner search. Okay, let's see how it looks around career potentially for you. Confidence. Boundaries. Okay. So I think your higher self says be confident, you have the skills and abilities that you want, and certainly your spiritual sort of inner knowing, and as you get more in touch with that, it's going to help you creatively in your job, whatever it might be. So have confidence in that. And I think also the Queen of Swords there was working very positively for you. You know what you need to do. But you will potentially need to have boundaries, because something in what you're doing is going to be spiritual. And everybody who works in spiritual stuff in one way or the other, even if it's just a spiritual approach you take in a very conventional job, needs to have boundaries, because so much comes in when you have that sort of energy. You need to have the boundaries to make sure you are not bleeding your own personal sort of energy into something that's more around career. Okay, let's have a look at lifestyle. Solution, reputation. Okay, so I think this might be, and in the lifestyle thing here, I think this might be why your higher self is saying spend some time introspecting before you do anything, because the solution will come to you, and it's got something to do with how you live your life and how you present yourself to the world, and it will have an impact on your reputation, and it's likely to be a very, very positive impact on your reputation. You're likely to be seen to be very benevolent, to have universal truths, to have a sort of real understanding. But you've got to get to that solution first, and you've got to take the time to almost let it gestate. So given that, let's see what wellness, well-being energy is for you. Disciplined, holistic therapy. So I do think that there is, because there's so much energy that's coming into you and there's so much accelerated development, you are going to need to discipline yourself, and it is going to need to be internal to start with. But it may be with holistic therapy that you can get support and help by looking at holistic and alternative therapies and so forth to support you. Because I think your inner journey at first is very much a solitary one. But there is the possibility, and you need that discipline to do that, there is the possibility of getting support from others in a more professional way around holistic therapies. It could also be that in the end, this is something that you do, that all of this comes together in some form of holistic therapy, colour therapy or music therapy and something. I keep getting that really strongly for you. Okay, let's have a look, speaking of such things, about spiritual modalities, approaches, or whatever your higher self thinks would be helpful for you. Activation. Oh, okay, and demon. Okay. So for a start, the demon is not a demon as in, Christian thing. It is really their higher self and a connection. This is your higher self saying that they really care about you, they're really connected, and they want to guide you in the right way. I also very much associate this card with a theory I read years ago by American psychologist and philosopher James Hillman. He wrote a book called The Soul's Code, and he said that if you think about what you wanted to do as a child, like what was it you really, who did you want to be in the world, that's your higher self in how it would most like to actualize. So if you were very much an artist and you drew all the time when you were young, even if you didn't have the skill yet to be, Leonardo da Vinci or something, it was your higher self that knew that being an artist was what you should be. So I think that there's a hint here about when you're going within and thinking about, think about what you were like as a child. If you can't remember everything, think about stories that your family might have told you or whatever. There's a clue there. And that helps you activate all of this energy and start to bring it, I think, into the 3D. Okay, but while all that's happening, there potentially could be blocks as well, because when we're looking at what our higher self's deepest dream for us is, we have to then manifest that in the world. So I have a card from the Shadows, Oracle of Shadows and Light, to look at that on a high level, and I also have some cards from Decoding Your Self-Esteem, which is another deck done by Danielle Malin, who does the Heart Code Oracle. So I picked the self-esteem because I think it has some very precise and clear messages that help understand how does self-esteem connect to all of this. But firstly, your oracles of shadow and light. We have Death and the Maiden. Okay, so this is why we've got boundaries over here. This is a card where sometimes one can be almost in love with the sort of spiritual and maybe even things from the past and so forth, and rather than connecting to the world. So I think it is saying there will be a point after you've gone within that you will need to connect with the world. You just need to sort of sort through who you are and what energies you're getting. It may suggest you have medium abilities as well too. But again, I still think that's the case. The way it's coming through is very creative. There's a creative thing here. But it is important to have the right boundaries. I do think your higher self will help you with that. So I don't think it's too much of a blockage, but you may feel overwhelmed sometimes. This is where the discipline is important. Okay, let's look at the self-esteem cards. Okay, so be careful that your beliefs and expectations don't influence your behavior, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why you need to do the internal work first. It may be that you've had these sort of abilities and you've used them, and maybe not even consciously, and you've created the world, you manifested a world that you didn't necessarily want because it fits with the beliefs that the external world put on you. So go within to work out what are your beliefs and expectations and so forth. We also have your responses have become conditioned to your circumstances. Break the cycle by changing the way that you respond to negative situations. So again, it's like there's a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy operating here, focusing on the past and focusing almost on what didn't go right or what has left your life rather than what's coming into it. So I think your higher self just wants to say so much is coming in and it's colourful and musical and beautiful, and it's about who you are and spiritual development, and it's accelerating it for you. But you do need to let go of the past, because with that degree of ability spiritually, you could manifest in exactly the same thing again if you haven't done the inner work. Okay, so to finish off, I wanted to use some crystal chakra cards for some chakra affirmations, some angel numbers for you, and then the astro chakra cards to bring it all together. Okay, we have the throat chakra. This is going back to Mercury, speaking your truth when you're ready, and the root chakra, when you're ready, when you know who you really are at a base level. So the throat chakra has blue appetite, intellect and achievement. I achieve whatever I set my mind to, and yes, you will. That's why you have to be careful about not having a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I choose to lead intellectual discussions. So yes, there's a point at which your universal truths, what you're getting, you will speak about, you will share. It's just when you're ready to do it. With the root chakra, we have red carnelian, stabilization and vitality. I see the vitality in all things, and I invite stability into my life. So part of this is probably about taking control of the amount of energy and grounding it. That's why we had the grounding energy of the crystal right at the beginning. All right, let's see what we have around angel numbers for you. Receptivity and belief. Okay, so angel number 1818, prepare to embrace wealth and abundance with gratitude and humility. Claim your blessings. So this is going to take you somewhere that will be profitable for you as well. So, that's the expansive sort of energy as well too. That is coming. Be ready to receive. And believe in yourself, I think, here. And we have 222. Your angels are encouraging belief in you. Consider mastering your strength, willpower, and confidence. And that's an internal journey, your higher self says. To start with, it's an internal journey. All right, let's finish off with some astro chakra cards to bring it all together for you. Sixth chakra, heart chakra, throat chakra, again, the communication. So starting with the third eye chakra, your sun, your inner purpose is about something spiritual. That's just confirming it. Your life path is meant to be about how you connect with the spirit and with others and so forth, highly psychic. Then in your heart chakra, again, your psychic ability comes into play with Neptune there. But it's interesting because in this deck, it talks about forgiveness. So there may be something from the past, some relationship that didn't work out, something that was a bit of heartbreak that you need to forgive to open your heart again. And then you can start to use Neptune in the throat chakra. It can move up to the throat chakra and be about what you communicate, exploring dreams, inspiring others, bringing universal truth. So you've got an inner journey, your higher self says, an internal journey to understand your spiritual abilities and how the messages are coming to you and how you can use them to create the life you want rather than maybe what you've kind of experienced today, and to forgive the past so that you can move forward into the future. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 2, and I hope it was helpful and that you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So here we have the other two Soul Helper Oracle cards that came with the one that might have been what drew you to this reading. I think for many that might be the case because the sense about love is very, very strong in this set of cards. In fact, I think if you come to the right reading, this is about a significant relationship, a new love, or resolving or dealing with and sort of rekindling potentially an existing one, depending upon where you are in your life and the relationship patterns in your life. But there is something about healing from emotional issues and moving towards relationships that are really a good balance of love and power. There's a strong musical sort of energy underneath this too with rhodonite, which I'll get to. But when we look at, firstly, with the Soul Helper Oracle, it's almost like a narrative for what your higher self's dearest dream for you is. We start with a partnership for the new age. It is time to welcome it. I do feel, as I say, that most of you drawn to this, there is either a new love or there is some sort of reconciliation or next level around an existing relationship. But it's not one that's been easy, or in welcoming the new, you have to let go of the past, because we've got the time of guilt and shame ends now. Forgive yourself and begin to love yourself just as you are. It does look like, particularly with You Are Unique here, that either a relationship more recently or something in your life has made you feel guilty or ashamed of being who you are, being different, being unique, being outside of the norm in some way. And maybe you felt it cost you love on some level. But with You Are Unique, be brave, a little crazy, but be yourself. Your higher self loves you, and your higher self sees that what you have is great beauty to bring to the world and wants you to be able to understand that intellectually with Mercury here, and to be able to communicate it to the world with confidence, and also to sort of have it aligned with your sort of beliefs, your sense of self, your capacity sort of for power and confidence and enthusiasm in the world with Sagittarius, a sort of a philosophical belief. So there's almost a sense here, it's a dual energy that your higher self is talking about. It's talking about love and a relationship, I think, or relationship in general. But I think for most, this your higher self dearly dreams for you to have the right relationship, and one where you feel loved and special and unique and cherished. But I also think it's about the philosophy of love with Sagittarius here, and about diversity, and about welcoming and loving what is different and unique in you and different and unique in others. And there is some clearing energy around a past situation, definitely here. Maybe that came about because you have empathic abilities. You may have been drawn to and tried to heal someone, and that wasn't really the right relationship for you. They may not have been ready to heal. They may have been duplicitous, or they may have been just not the right connection, so you were sort of drawn into something and drawn down into something, if that's the case. But there's a clearing energy so that your empathic energy can bring in the right match. And there is a completion energy. You are meant, I think, there's like a soul twin flame, something like that for you in this life, because there is a sort of a sense of, in this earth, because Sandalphon connects to earth, a 3D experience of love and completion and connection that closes a cycle, clears some karma, heals some wounds, whatever it might be. That's what's important. And there's something around this, around power, love and power, because we have the King card here. So this is you as a powerful person, someone who's protective, someone who is, uses power appropriately in some way. But it's somehow how it connects to the heart, because rhodonite, this particular deck, is sort of crystal energy connected to Atlantean sort of channeling, so very ancient sort of wisdom. And rhodonite is, in fact, in the pink sort of colour area, it is a crystal of love, but it is also a crystal about finding the right balance, or this energy combined, the right balance between love and power in some way. So it may be that there was something in a relationship that didn't work out that had to do with an imbalance in power, or the inappropriate use of power. And if you felt that you contributed to that, or you enabled it in some way, it's time to let that go. If you felt drawn into it and you felt that you were controlled by someone and you think that you did the wrong thing, again, let it go. It's time to clear that energy, because the right thing is coming in. So this is very much about relationship, I think. So let's use tarot. And we're going to firstly ask what is a little bit more detail about this right now. Then we're going to look at unconscious energy, and we're going to look at also what opportunities are coming up right now. But firstly, just a little bit more information from your higher self about their dearest dream for you. Okay, this is almost like the narrative of what's happened. It does look like a relationship broke up. A relationship that maybe you thought with the Ten of Pentacles was going to be a long-term one, but there were power issues around it. So your higher self wants to acknowledge that there's something major that shifted. You know, it could have been a divorce, it could have been moving out from living together, it could have been that you thought it was a relationship that was going to go to that next level and didn't do it. But your higher self wants you to understand it wasn't the right connection because there was a power imbalance. I think the other party was very controlling in some way. And it's important for you to be who you are. It's like somebody who, I mean, I get the feeling that you're very attractive and maybe, you know, it's almost like that kind of somebody wanted a trophy wife, and you don't have to be a woman for this. It's just an example. Or saying they wanted a particular cutout and you were meant to be that, but you are unique and you are beautiful and your higher self wants you to be true to who you are. And so, and maybe you didn't feel you could speak, you know, in this relationship, but you've spent some time alone, or your higher self says spend a bit of time alone now, go within spiritually, because that will start to bring the right energy in. It will turn the wheel in your direction, and then you will feel ready to go back out, you know, whether it's into the dating pool or to feel brave enough to let someone else close. This does look like it was difficult. I don't think it's the one you're meant to complete. I think you're meant to find the soul twin, that kind of energy. That's meant to be part of your life path in this particular incarnation, to have the great love. But it's like you found it in the wrong place with the wrong person, and you just need to clear that energy in some way. And I think it's important. I think your higher self is saying that it was almost like you needed to go through it so that you could start to speak your truth more. If you didn't go through that, there might have been something that's about the relationship when it comes in that wouldn't be fully realized. One of the things that's going to be wonderful about this relationship is that you will be able to speak your truth, and what is unique in you will be valued. And maybe you wouldn't have even known how precious that was if you hadn't experienced the opposite. Okay, so let's see what's unconscious around it for you. Okay, so there's almost a double message in this. I think this is saying that bringing the new energy in will probably come through something that's material and collaborative. So something in your career or something, yeah, something that, you know, is around groups or communities and so forth. But it is saying that maybe that energy also was the problem before. Like maybe there were other people involved or other people's interests. So I think it's just saying that it's not going to be the same. So be aware that if sort of something comes through friendship circles or work this time, for instance, that doesn't mean it's going to be the same. What you need to do, however, instead of jumping in and assuming it's going to be the same, is look at what you really want. Like, what does love mean to you? Take that as the guide, not as you know, what other people's opinions might be and so forth. The other thing that I'm getting is that if for some of you there was a divorce and children and so forth, there are still some battles around that, but it looks as though you will be okay. It looks as though that's going to work out in your favour. That's quite specific, but I got that for some of you potentially. Okay, so let's have a look at what opportunity might be just around the corner for your higher self's greatest dream for you. Okay, if some of you are caught up in this and it's caught up in your workplace as well, I think one of the things that's coming around the corner is emancipation from that, possibly being able to take a different career step, being able to do something different, not having to sort of be loyal to something that is material as well. So there's an opportunity for emancipation from what were obligations before. What your higher self is also saying is that it's an opportunity to let go of maybe whatever your concept of love was when you were young. That might have been something from your family. So there could be like family patterns here. You might have ended up in the wrong sort of relationship because it fitted what your family wanted. So there's an opportunity to emancipate yourself from all those sort of material and kind of programmed things, and to be who you are and to accept who you are. So that opportunity is coming up for you. And I think it's coming up for you because there will be this new relationship coming in. I don't think many of you have met this person. Some of you might have, but like, I think by and large it's something fairly new coming in. So let's have a look at it in the 3D. So I'm going to use the Heart Code Oracles for relationship, lifestyle, career and well-being. And then we're going to look at some spiritual sort of advice as well too, just to see how some of this might be manifesting. So firstly around relationship, and I mean, this is really about relationships, so it'll be interesting to see what your higher self wants to say to you right now about that. Observe. Oh, okay. So that's kind of cool. So observe what's going on around you. I think there's a double message here. So with lust, there's also, I think when this person comes, you're going to know, because it's going to be a very strong physical attraction. You're going to kind of like feel it right from the beginning. And observe when you feel that, when that kind of energy comes back in, because it probably means you've cleared things out. But it also says that sometimes we have physical attractions and they aren't to the best people for us in the longer term. So maybe observe some of the other patterns in the relationship before you jump in. I suspect that's more from the past than going forward, because I do think the right one's coming in. But still, it's always your higher self wants to make sure that you don't mistake who it is. Let's have a look at career. Trust. Authentic. Okay, so the message is pretty clear here, I think. You can trust those who are authentic, that you can sort of sense, and who also allow you to be your authentic self. Do not trust people who try to put you in a box and make you something that you're not. A lot of what's going to be good for you in your career and in making money and all those things is what is unique about you. So you can trust those who trust and back that. And if they don't, then don't, basically. Let's have a look at lifestyle. Baggage and projecting. Okay, I just want to jump back also here. I do think because of that Three of Pentacles, you may come across this new person through work. So I think you can trust that that could be authentic, that whatever the work complication, if there was one before, is not going to happen with that relationship. But you do have to work through the baggage. And this may be why this is coming, because you're still carrying some of this. You do need to clear some of this. Otherwise, you may project onto this because there's something similar about it. A feeling, well, that'll just be going through that all over again. This is why you need to sort of go from within, so that you don't project baggage out from the past. And to help with that, let's have a look at wellness. Gratitude. Activity. Okay, so I think this is, there's a practice around wellness, which is around gratitude. It's looking at what is really great in life and being grateful for that, and that brings in energy and activity and so forth, and acting towards that which you are grateful for and which you can enjoy. So I think there's a sort of part of the practice when you look within and you clear the energy is look at what you can be grateful for, and even to be grateful in a weird way about whatever this heartbreak was, because I think it's meant to teach you what not to do next, so that when the right one comes through. There's a thing that happens sometimes with soul twins and so forth, where something a bit similar, a similar person comes in early, and it's almost like a dry run to give you a sense about both what is there and also what isn't, so that when the right person comes, you really see it. I think there may be something there. And thinking about activities which make you feel gratitude, like cooking a wonderful meal, or going to the movies, or going for a lovely walk, or something like the activity that brings you back to the gratitude for being alive. Okay, and let's have a look at spiritual energy around you that your higher self wants to talk about. Mysticism. This came up for somebody else, so you may, or one of the other readings, so you may be connected to a couple. And kitchen magic. Yeah, this is about this activity and gratitude, I think. So you may be very well attuned to and be able to get a lot of benefit from sort of herbal medicines and kitchen magic, all those sort of senses of being back to nature and so forth. But you're also very, with the hermit, connected to the divine realms and so forth. This is why I feel like there's a kind of divine counterpart or something for you this time around. So it may be worth looking into mystical traditions, looking into the Kabbalah, like is there, or some of the other, mystical traditions like Gnosticism or whatever, catches your eye, your fancy, because there may be something about that and the balance that's associated in that helps you understand and be grateful for and live into what is unique and beautiful about you. Okay, so now we're going to hit the little bit of the tricky bit where we also had some cards under the original card that brought you here to look at blocks, because I think whenever our higher self wants their dearest dream for us to come true, there will be blocks, and they need us to be aware of that. It's just true of all of us. So we have something from the Oracle of Shadows and Light for an overarching theme, and then a couple of cards from the Decoding Your Self-Esteem deck, which is another deck by Danielle Malin, who does the Heart Code Oracles. So this is like the most confronting part of the reading. So just be ready. But it's meant to be gentle, and your higher self will always look after you in this. But the block, oh, okay. Strange Valentine, love is strange. Maybe this is really just not really comprehending love at this point because of what you've gone through. And I think it's also saying that you are unique. So what the relationship energy will be around you is unique. It doesn't have to fit a cutout and be exactly what other people would see. And whether that's about preferences, whether it's about whether you like the concept of getting married or anything like that, but how it is that you want to be, there's something a bit different about that. Don't let that block you. Don't feel that you're too different or weird, or the person who comes into your life is too different and weird for it to work or for people to understand. Okay, let's look at the self-esteem advice. Okay, all right. Stop projecting your past relationships onto new ones. Your expectations are influencing your interactions. So this is about the projection and the baggage. This is why you need to go within, because you are not going to repeat this. If you kind of like reconcile how you see love and you're comfortable with that, you're not going to have it happen again. But it's also saying you're seeking acceptance from people who do not deserve you. So this is going back to the you're unique and you are beautiful. You need to find the people who accept you, not who want to control you and turn you into something in their design. So that's the key. That's what's going to be different, Pole 3. When this person comes in, they're going to love you for you. But there's something about the way they come in that's similar that will make you think, oh, here we go again. So, but don't project that. Step back, look at it, listen, observe, do all of those sort of things, because then you will find the authentic connection. Okay, so we're just going to finish off with some affirmations and synthesizing information. So we're going to start with crystal chakra for crystal and chakra affirmations. Then we're going to use some angel numbers, and then I'm going to finish off with the astro chakra cards. So we have root chakra, which is about who you are at your core, and sacral chakra, what you want to create and bring into your world. So with the root chakra, we have red jasper, rectification and boundaries. I establish healthy boundaries. Yes, you need to do that. And I rectify my mistakes. I think your only mistake was being trusting of somebody who was not as open to who you were uniquely. And I think as long as you've learnt from that and you start to speak your truth and understand your philosophy of love, you'll be fine. We also have in the sacral chakra, success and self-confidence. I am confident in the decisions I make. Yes, be confident. Like we all make mistakes sometimes. Your next step looks to me, your higher self is setting everything up, is going to be, the right one. And I attract success into my life. So yes, you will do that. You'll bring the wheel of fortune around for you. You'll bring success in. Let's see angel numbers for you. Opportunity and higher self. So angel 858, your angels are preparing you for a life filled with abundance, wealth, future endeavors and exciting new experiences. Yes, because you are unique. Your higher self wants you to really start to self-actualize and to find the right love, because there's definitely something about love here. And then the higher self, angel 101. You are being reminded to listen to your inner wisdom, going back to the hermit there, and strong intuition. It will always guide you. Okay, and so to finish off, let's just use some astro chakra cards to bring it all together. Intuition, so the third eye chakra. Root chakra again. This is really about who you are at a core and feeling safe in the world. And feeling safe in love with the heart chakra. So the intuition, Neptune, inspiration, that's connecting to your higher self. Listen to that. Go within and surrender to that, because you are who you are and your higher self loves who you are, and with good reason. And it's really about accepting that. And then allowing the transformation of where you feel safe, the renewal, whatever it was that you went through, you clear it out and bring Pluto's transformation through for renewal in your life, which also then opens your heart and opens love and brings in harmony in the heart chakra. So it really is the same message all the way through here. You need to let go of some past relationship that didn't work and that tried to control you, I think. Moving into one that will actually see you for your unique beauty and for who you are and for how you love, And that is part of your life path, and it is your higher self's dearest dream for you, because I think other things flow from that as well, around career and so forth. But it's the thing. Once you actually clear that out and bring it through, that really opens your heart, brings you into your true self, and connects you even more to your spiritual guides and so forth. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share about in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 4, to your reading. So this is the card that brought you here, or may have been part of why you came here, depending upon how you choose the deck or the reading for you. And this is 2 more cards from the Soul Helper Oracle, which to me give a kind of almost narrative to what it is that your higher self's most dear dream for you is. And then we look at some of the elements of it with some of these other cards. So this is definitely about something creative, and I suspect something that is about communication, something that is writing, speaking, taking truths out into the world in some way. But it's definitely creative, and it's definitely got connection in some way to healing or to love, but I will get to that. That's connecting down here. So firstly, around almost the narrative that your higher self is talking to you about with the Soul Helper Oracle. A new strategy is required. Find the path to love and happiness, but I think also to creative happiness there. Awaken the magic of your creativity, immerse yourself in the world of feelings, and the time is right. Seize the day and make progress on your soul path. This tells me that there is something creative that you have, as I say, and with the 3rd house, which is all about communication, there is certainly something there about communicating with others, as I say, writing in some way, or communicating or speaking in some way, speaking your truth. There is something highly creative with Uriel here around it, and inspired with Uranus connecting to Uriel, and which is meant to take you forward in terms of an ambition with Mars, with evolution, and I think helping others. Now, it doesn't mean, particularly say here with the healing element, it doesn't mean you have to be creating or writing about something healing, but you could be. But it's something profoundly healing in what you write or what you create or what you speak, in whatever it may be that you communicate this. So it could be a novel that is incredibly healing for people because of the themes around it. I'm sorry, I just had to stop because there was some drilling and I'm going to have to stop again. Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully that drilling will have stopped. There's still some renovations going on in my block of flats, but I'll stop again if it starts up again. But as I was saying, I think that there is something that could be profoundly healing in what you do, or about love in some way. But it is your higher self's dearest dream for you is for you to take this creative project, idea, inspiration out into the world, both for your own spiritual and emotional development and transformation, but also for the transformation of others. With Pluto here, with Uranus there, with Uriel, there is a very, very strong evolutionary energy, as Camael talks about here, that what you are bringing out has a purpose. And I'll get to the archetypes in a minute, but the Emerald card here comes from a deck that combines crystal energy with Atlantean channeling, so very sort of ancient sort of wisdom. And the emerald is about healing, it is about love, it is about the sort of spiritual healing and grounding and so forth. So I do think there's something in the message of what your higher self wants you to create or bring into the world that has something to do with that. It's also highly beautiful in some way. So as I say, the creativity doesn't have to be sort of sitting writing a book about how to clear out emotional energy or something. There could be just something so beautiful about what you create, a beautiful song, a beautiful painting, that people are drawn to it. Or it could even be that you're in a conventional work environment and there's something very beautiful about what you do, the way that you present it, that has a healing and a community sort of aspect and brings people in to whatever the workplace is, or that has an impact on the workplace culture. So it could come across in any number of ways. It may even be how you present yourself and your own beauty. There's something about the fact that you can come across as a friend, a confident, a trusted person to come to, and someone who feels friendly and approachable. So there's something in that energy as well too. But this is definitely about something creative and transformative. And I think as a process of it, your higher self says that you will transform, but almost as a side impact of this, because you are a creative creature, and creative creatures, you can see it with the Plutonian energy. Here we have the phoenix rising. That is the natural sort of evolutionary cycle of the creative person. You create and recreate yourself. But definitely this is saying you just need to think differently about how you do it for some reason. It suggests that maybe you've tried something creative before and it didn't take off. But the time is right now for you to rise again and to really awaken that. It's just think a little bit strategically. So let's see what tarot wants to tell us. Firstly, a bit more about the information, and then we're going to have a look at what's unconscious and then what opportunities are around you, because this may give us a little bit more of an idea about what the new strategy is. Wow. Okay, the very first thing I'm going to say is your higher self wants you to have courage, not because necessarily anything awful is going to happen at all, but because you are going into a very, very transformative and very, very liberating sort of energy. There's something about what you're doing. It not only transforms yourself and liberates yourself, but it's going to help that with others. But it's a competitive environment in some way. This is why your creative beauty is going to be important, and your very, very clear communication. But remember that your higher self is sort of saying you have that evolutionary energy. You have the tower energy working for you. People can get a little bit worried about the tower, but I think the tower can be a wonderful card when you move with its energy. And there's something about what you're creating which is transformative, that does do that, and something that is close to your heart. Also, there are others around you who will share your vision. You will be able to go on a journey creatively that others will understand and others will benefit from. But it's got something to do with facing, the powers of the world, facing the sort of competition of the world, facing the egos of the world, all of that kind of thing. But you kind of take it all before you. So your higher self is saying, believe in that. If it didn't work before, use that energy, use that fire to be the phoenix rising up above it all. So there's something profound coming through for you. So let's have a look at what might be unconscious, because that's fairly important when you're dealing with this sort of level of energy. Okay, so firstly, you will at some point need to sort of come out with what you're doing. You're hiding a little bit away with the Four of Swords, and you may not even be aware that you're doing that completely. But that's kind of connecting to the strategy. Once you connect your mind and you have a strategy, you'll feel more able to do it. So understand that for you, and this is again with the third house, that you need your mind engaged. The creative energy probably comes through like fire or water, those sort of like feelings around it, but you need your mind engaged, and that allows you to find the right collaborators. You will have, again, this is very much confirming, you may not be aware, but there will be people who will work with you and get what you get. Also, you're likely to make quite a lot of money out of this and establish something of a business or something like that of long standing. So I think that your higher self might gently be saying to you that you're underestimating what you can do with this. So let's ask what some opportunities might be for you. Okay. I think that your higher self is saying all the energy we've seen already, it's all there. What you do need to do, the opportunity you have right now, and maybe even coming to this reading or thinking about these sort of things, is to let go of what didn't work before, what didn't really take, what wasn't fully emotionally sorted out. It's almost as though that experience was needed to furnish what you would go forward with, but you need to let go of the feeling of that didn't work out. Can I strategize now? Yes, you can. So let that full evolution go, because you're a little bit lacking in confidence at the moment. And so your higher self wants you to understand your best opportunity at the moment is to let that go and understand that you have gone through the evolution, and the creative idea has also grown and evolved as a result of that, and it's ready for you to sort of have a new plan and take it forward in some way. You are meant to be creative. If you are stuck in some conventional job where you feel like, how do I use my creativity? Then there is something, and it may be even the smallest thing that you do as a side hustle for a while, that eventually could be your career, eventually could make you money. But you've got to have that belief, that strategy, and be prepared to take whatever this evolutionary and I think kind of healing energy that you've got to bring to the world and bring it into being. Okay, so let's have a look at it in the 3D world a bit. So I'm going to be using the Heart Code Oracles for relationship, career, lifestyle and wellness, and then I'm going to use a deck around spiritual stuff as well, just to sort of see the various elements of life in the 3D world around what your higher self wants you to dream and bring into being. So firstly, let's look around relationships. Rekindle, okay. Disconnected. Okay, so this could be saying that some of this connects to a relationship in some way. It's still got a highly creative connection, so I think there would be a creative connection in the relationship if it is that. But if you are looking at a relationship that didn't work, but you feel more evolved now and changed, and you can see the person has changed, then there may be a way to get past the disconnection and rekindle. But I think it's also a relationship with your own creativity, and also potentially with maybe even friends and so forth that you haven't sort of mixed with a lot, but who could potentially be people who work with you and have a similar creative ideal, because this doesn't have to be romantic. So it may be about reconnecting with those who might be able to help you take the idea forward. So let's look at it around career. Resilience. Celebration. You will need resilience, like all this tower energy, Pluto and so forth. There's something very transformative in what you do, and you probably need to break through a few barriers and learn the industry and do all that kind of thing. So resilience is necessary, but you're going to succeed. Again, it's picking up the 10 of Pentacles. You're going to succeed far more than you expect to. So there will be cause for celebration around your career, around your wealth, around your abundance and so forth. Let's have a look at lifestyle while all this is going on. Reputation. Friendship. See, you have friend as well. I think you're going to build a reputation for being a really strong friend, a really great collaborator, being someone who also can help around friendship, connection, communication, evolution, healing, all of that sort of stuff. But you're going to have an excellent reputation for, I think, because you're going to be so strong and help people through change and so forth in some way. So this is really going to build your reputation because you're a really good friend and you're really reliable. That's why people will trust you to listen to what you have to say, to look at what it is you're creating. But while you're busy being that for everybody, let's make sure you're looking after your own wellness. So let's see what wellness has to say. Mental health. Immune system. Okay, so this is just picking up. It is something about what you're doing that has some stress associated with it because it's so evolutionary, because it is evolutionary and revolutionary, really. That I think this is just saying that, like, make sure you take time out. You know, you look after your own mental health and so forth. That you don't take too much on. You don't get exhausted. And the immune system, those two things very much connect, because if we are feeling overstressed, our immune system can turn on itself. So it's worth building all of that up so that, you know, like, make sure you get plenty of sleep. That builds your immune system probably more than anything from things that I've read. I'm not a doctor, but certainly it seems to correlate that sleep is when your body sort of repairs itself and so forth. But get plenty of sleep, get good nutrition, supplements for your immune system if you need it. But like, remember these things are connected, and make sure that you look after yourself, particularly when you're in a very big creative jag and you're bringing something out, or if you're bringing it out into the world and it does have a kind of evolutionary effect, that you look after yourself and the way that people respond to it. Okay, let's have a look at spiritual support your higher self wants you to know about. Praise. Intelligence. Okay. So for Asar, I think just on a very basic level, you're likely to be praised for your intelligence, your creativity, all of that kind of thing. Praise is also about recognizing the spiritual connections, praising that which channels energy, you know, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, having that sense of gratitude. And there was that sense of song and music at the beginning too. So it could be sort of songs of praise, or that sort of sense of singing to sort of thank the universe might be something that's helpful. Intelligence suggests that you can remote view or astral travel, those sorts of things. So it may be that it is at that realm that you can see the way through and find the strategy. So pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to anything like that that seems to be sending you messages. Okay, now we're getting to the challenging part of the reading, because whenever we're talking about what our higher self's dearest dream might be, we need to really face whatever blockages there might be. So I've got a card from the Oracle of Shadows and Light for an overall theme that your higher self wants to talk about, and then 2 cards from the Decoding Your Self-Esteem Oracle, which is done by Danielle Malin, who does the Heart Code Oracles. So this is a little bit confronting, but it's meant to just be gentle information from your higher self about what could block you or what you need to think about so that you don't get in your own way for your higher self's dearest dream for you. Okay, so we've got the 2 little witches. Now this is interesting, magical space clearing time. This is about clearing space in general. And it makes sense in a way that you kind of need to declutter your life. If you're going through something as creative and evolutionary as this, you don't want to be weighed down by the past. You don't want to be weighed down by literally things in your environment. You're probably someone who, if you're in a chaotic environment, will feel chaotic. This is really, it's sort of almost like the domestic spirit card, because it's make sure your environment supports you by being minimalist, clean, ordered, whatever, because there's so much other change and chaos around what you're creating that you don't want it to be in your home. If you get it in your home, it's almost like you get caught in that energy. So it's a clearing energy. And in terms of self-esteem, so it says, are you intentionally manipulating a situation to gain validation and greater acceptance? Reflect and self-adjust. This might be the strategy. You may have been in a situation where, because you are clever and able to communicate, you were looking for a way to force an issue or make something happen or be validated in some way. Don't get into that pattern. Your strategy should not be about trying to convince people. This should speak for itself. And if you just focus on what you're creating rather than on how it's being received, you will find it has its audience and it will be well received. We've also got introversion is not a character flaw. An introvert's sense of self is simply not externally derived like most extroverts. So going within is helpful for you. And you don't have to be out in the world all the time. Your work and your creativity will speak for itself. So don't feel you're somehow not up to this. You are. Just let the work speak for itself, and don't try and force an issue. Okay. So to finish off, we want to use some crystal chakra affirmations and then some angel numbers, and then I'll finally use the Astro Chakra cards to bring the reading together. So firstly, some crystal chakra affirmations for you. The sacral chakra, creativity again. You're all about creativity. And solar plexus, being who you are in the world. You can't be happy in this world, and I think your higher self knows it, unless you're creating something in some way, in whatever way you think of creativity. In the sacral chakra, we have tangerine quartz, which is about curiosity and playfulness. I honour my inner child by being playful, and I always feed my curiosity. So yes, this is the thing. Don't worry too much. Your strategy shouldn't be about how do I market this. With the 3rd house, you'll do that well anyway. You don't need to be thinking about that. It should be, what can I enjoy? How can I make this fun? Because there's a lot of really significant energy coming through. How do I give it a lightness of touch? And then with the solar plexus chakra, with sunshine aura quartz, which is about rejuvenation and expansion, I choose to expand my perspective and I take time to rejuvenate my energy. So definitely do that. And your perspective, I think, is just understanding what didn't work, and so that you can actually focus in on what will, and so forth. And maybe the perspective changing by clearing everything out and simplifying everything, take everything back to first principles with the 2 little witches there. So let's get some angel numbers for you. Higher self, self-care. Your higher self definitely wants you to look after yourself there, because there is so much energy coming through. That's coming through over and over. So the higher self, angel number 101, you are being reminded to listen to your inner wisdom and strong intuition. It will always guide you. Yes, do that rather than trying to fit in with others. And self-care, angel 722, you are being called to take time for yourself. Tune into your body, your desires and feelings. So yeah, look after yourself. There's a lot of energy coming through. Okay, so to bring it all together, pile 4, I'm just going to pull 3 Astro Chakra cards. So we have communication, this is connecting back to the 3rd house, the throat chakra, the solar plexus chakra, so who you are in the world, and spirituality, your connection to the higher realms through the crown chakra. So communication has Saturn in it, discipline, authority. I think you will become an authority about something, because I think there's something, in no matter what way it is that you use your creativity, that is so evolutionary and so well targeted that people will come to you and they will listen to you. So I think you don't, that's why the block would be trying to fit in with others. I think people are meant to come to you, in fact. It's got something to do with the moon, it's got something to do with the heart, it's got something to do with feelings in your solar plexus chakra. There's something nurturing, healing about what you're going to be doing, even though I think it's confronting in a way and it's evolutionary, it's ultimately for growth. And then spirituality, your connection to your higher self, that's where you get your ambition from with Mars. So let that download come through. You're very Plutonian, actually, and I think you pay attention to where Pluto is in your chart, because I think that's going to be a bit of a key for you. And maybe how Pluto and Mars operate may also be a key to you. But this is about accomplishment. When you connect into your higher self, that's when you're really going to accomplish what you want. It's like you were almost there, but you've tried to sort of get the validation and fit in with others, and so you diminished all these energies. Now if you just do the creativity, just do the message, then you'll find it all comes together, and that's the strategy that you need. So Pile 4, I hope that resonates for you. I hope it's inspiring, because I think there's some really interesting stuff you could do in the world. And I wish you well with that. If you did enjoy the reading, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd be fascinated to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.